So I am truly a data nerd, and data hygiene is a biggie with me. So the very first thing I always do, especially if I do a big import, is I try to take advantage of the built-in tools to help me get around deduplication that can happen sometime. One thing to remember with contacts, emails are really important because that's what keeps the record from duplicating. Now, sometimes things just happen where maybe you've entered it with an email address, and in our example, I've entered it with an email address, and Tom has come behind me and he's just put in a name. That is going to create two records because it doesn't have a way to know it's the same person. Email is what does that for contacts. So, what you can do when you do a big import, I like to always come under this action. So I go to my contacts view and then I come over here to actions and I say manage duplicates. And the very first thing it's going to do is you'll see it divides it into contacts and companies. I just like to go through the contacts most of the time. Those are really my important folks that I want to reach out to. But you can see how it shows you this. In this example, we've got 27. And it says, contact one has this name and contact two has this name. And they're pretty close. And that's, of course, going to be based on the number of characters that are the same. They've got different email addresses, so they could be a different contact. So, what you get to do is you can hit this review button. And what I really like about I've used other platforms that have this sort of tool, but it's not really clear what's happening. So what I like is that you just kind of start from the top, choose the record you want to keep. And then it says, do you want to pick this one or do I want to pick this one? If I say this is the record I want to keep, you then get a note down here of what's going to happen. So if I'm keeping this one, I'm going to keep this email address as the primary. And then if I want to switch that, you can either do this and it's showing you which way they're going to be merged. But it actually gives you down here what happens when you merge two contacts, which I think is super convenient and really easy to do. And then, of course, you can reject it. If you know that they are not the same person, you can just hit the reject button and that removes it from the list. So you can see all sort of the things that it picked up here. You can see all sorts of different varieties of Bill Jones here. So as you go through that. The other thing, same thing with companies. So you can sort of go through and review those. This one is, this is a pretty common error that we see, I think with companies especially. The website or the domain name, that's going to really what keeps those from duplicating. What we see a lot of, I see a lot of, especially because I get imports, I deal a lot with importing, is someone will have just entered it incorrect in 2 or 3 different formats. So they might have spelled out ADRC, or somebody might have put the ADRC committee. So that's where this tool is really handy. It sort of goes in and catches those and gives you the opportunity to clean them up. And of course, if you need to send them out and get them to someone else to review, you do have the option to export them, which that can be really handy too. Sometimes, if you have a whole lot of these, and I recommend this sometimes, you can actually export them out, clean them up on a spreadsheet, and then maybe re-import them in. Sometimes that's a lot easier to do if you have a whole bunch. But if you have, probably under 50, it's pretty easy to flip through these and get them all knocked out. The other thing, and again, I'll show you where that was because it's sort of hidden, but again, it's under actions right here. The other thing that's under, and I'm going to go back to companies because it does exist there. A lot of times with contacts, I'm sorry, I'm going back to contacts. A lot of times with contacts, the duplication has happened, and maybe it's a formatting issue. So I also like to run this as far as data hygiene. And it goes through and just sort of shows you, it gives you what the issue is, and then gives you the ability to fix it or remove it. You can either say, yep, this is correct, or you can reject it and say, yep, this is correct, or you can accept the proposed fix that it makes for you. So it's saying, one of our clients is Jake from State Farm, and HubSpot picked up that it doesn't really think that his last name is from. And you can go through these, and it's pretty interesting and look and see the different things that it will catch. This happens a lot, I'll say, where someone has entered a middle initial and it thinks it's the last name, and it'll actually catch that for you. It's pretty good too about catching if there's formatting errors with your emails. It'll catch that. Occasionally one gets in that's like a .con or a Gmail misspelled, and it'll come back and catch those for you as well. Okay. And then I, of course, because I am the reporting nerd, I like to keep a little data hygiene dashboard. And I'm not going to go too in depth about this, but I want to show you an example of some of the things that um, I saw included. When I very first started working with Tom, data hygiene was a huge thing, and I saw this and thought, wow, this is genius. So sort of adapted it. But and this really builds off of what we've learned or what we've talked about in the last two lessons about reporting. To me, this is a really easy place to start with reporting. A lot of these are single object. I've created a couple in here that are multiple object, but you could start these as a list view and then transfer them, as I showed before, into a report and then put that on the dashboard. Where I find that comes in really, really helpful and effective is when you're running a report and you get something like this where you see no value, then that may signal to you, I really need to get this cleaned up. And then in that case, maybe you stick it on a data hygiene dashboard. But I included a logo here or a graphic. Of course, you can include a video. I also linked in here the same article that I put in the handout about why data hygiene is important, and then the 7 best practices that HubSpot recommends. So, maybe if you're building a data hygiene, you want to include that so people on your team understand why it's important and why they should follow the best practices. Of course, emails are key in HubSpot. We all know that. We need that to communicate. So maybe, and I used broken down by contact type here, but you can see, we've got 42 that are in the strategic alliance that we don't have a way to email because we don't have an email address for them. Now, you could go in and start opening these up and finding those email, or maybe you're lucky enough to have an intern that you can sort of set loose to do this. Tom's going to talk about a couple of options you can use for that. But, I might have also, like in this one down here, I did, there were, companies missing names. That's a big annoying one to me. I can't stand to log into people's data and see like a dash for the first name or dash for the last name or dash for the company name. So that one to me might be pretty important to fix. Ideally, you'd think you'd want these all to be zeros. I don't know how realistic that is, but that would sort of be the goal to get it to that so that, and again, I just slapped up some examples of different things that you might be looking for. Tom always likes to include this one. I think it is an important one about, your marketing contact limit is set. It's sort of buried up here under your account, but it's always nice just to create this and then pull that in. So you've sort of got a quick glance with looking at everything else of how many marketing contacts do you have left. So I did things like contacts without companies. This is one where we're looking at a double-edged or a double object report. Tickets missing ticket owners. We've got 108 here. And again, this is just sample data that the ticket's not assigned to anyone. So maybe that's something you really want to keep track of. And then, of course, I've broken it down by the type of ticket. Same thing with deals without a company or contact. This is a multi-object one, sort of a good one to test. And then it's by pipeline. So we've got 13 economic development projects that don't have a company or contact associated with it. So again, I just sort of threw up some things that to me get sort of annoying when I log in and maybe I'm looking at that list view and I go to sort it and I start out and I start seeing all those dashes for names or companies missing or whatever it is. So, any questions on that? Tom's going to sort of talk to you about tools you can use, but do we have any questions?
I don't see any in the chat.
Right. So, Tom, I'll take over monitoring the chat and
Okay,
hand it over to you.
sounds good. All right, so I'm going to show you the next cool thing. It's one of those tools that once I started using it, I wondered how I did anything before I had it. And the tool is called Surf. This is a third-party tool. You can get a free license. You can start for free. And under pricing, let's see what they have here. They've got a couple editions. We're on the essential version, but check out what this does because this is really, really super cool. So I was trying to find a contact, right? So I looked up Jay Burgess, and I don't know this guy. At least I don't think I do. So if I click on Jay Burgess's information, maybe this is somebody I want to add to my database. So what that tool Surf does is it adds this right here, add to CRM. So I can just go here and hit add as a contact. And then I can, well, I guess he's got no well, that'll be interesting to see what happens. But it pulls his information in straight into HubSpot here. Now, another thing is I could search for his mobile number. Now, these cost you, what they do is use a credit model. So you can buy a fixed number of credits. But I could use 2 credits and search and get his mobile phone number that way. So just to show you how well this works, let's see if we can bounce out to our internal CRM. But what it'll do is it'll create the contact record and the company record at the same time. So now we're going to go to CRM. We're going to look at our contacts. And here we have Jay Burgess. So that automatically populated. Now, it didn't have a company associated with him. If it did, it would have created a company record and populated that with all that data as well. If I refresh the screen here, let's see if I can do that real quick. Usually it populates that with their photograph as well, straight from LinkedIn. But it'll pull in as much as it possibly can. So here's the LinkedIn bio for this individual. And then the rest of the profile is blank, but it's going to try and get as much as possible. Now, if I click View All Properties, I can hide the blank properties, and you can see what else it brought in. Job function, job title. That's probably all we got there. Oh, it pulled in an AI summary of his bio, and of course his LinkedIn profile right there. So again, the tool is called Surf, and it really is pretty amazing. The other great use case for this is if one of your contacts, let's say you email them and the email bounces. Well, that's a flag, right? Like, why did Jay's email bounce? They either retired or they probably got a new job. So I would always want to go look at that contact again in LinkedIn. And I might say, oh, you know what? This person is now with another company. And I would go down here and I would do update the CRM. And it's going to bring in his new information, new job title, and new company, and update the CRM all in a matter of seconds. So there are a lot of companies out here that will sell you contact and company data. Now, I happen to know the process they use to get that data. Some of it's sourced through public records, but they also have a call center. and they call and they ask people, hey, does Tom Wingler still work here? What's his job position? It's really nearly impossible to get good, accurate data that way because people are always changing, getting hired and fired, right? Well, one thing that we know is that people always keep up with their LinkedIn information. It's just a thing we do in America, right? So this is what we call first party data because Jay created his own profile. And that's the absolute best source of data that you can get. It is truly from LinkedIn. It can also go right from the LinkedIn profile record there, and it would log me into HubSpot. I'm just logged into a different browser. But I could pop straight in from LinkedIn to HubSpot as well. All right, so that's what I've got for you on a new, awesome, amazing tool. And I will tell you, these people are giving our clients a small discount. So I will put that in the chat. Maybe go there, get the trial if you like it. You might want to buy it. Or you might even just want to get one license for somebody on your team or an intern and say, hey, your job is to keep these contacts clean. Go look them up in Surf, get their LinkedIn info, and have that augment their contact and company records in your CRM database. So there you go. Surf.
All right, that is awesome. Any questions from anybody? Any bits of data that you all are having trouble keeping up with, or that you're finding in your own CRM is becoming an issue?
Okay.
Right.
Not
We've got the cleanest databases in America, apparently,
awesome.
which is fabulous.
Well, these are really designed to be light, short, quick training sessions. Just give you the information, let you see it. Go play around with your system in the next 10, 15 minutes while it's fresh on your mind. And we're here if you need us. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
We'll
all.
send out another invite for another training session next week. We'll introduce a new concept and also just do kind of a wide open, hey, what do you want to know about HubSpot? And we will answer anything that we possibly can, and anything that you stump us on, we'll go get the answer and get back to you. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.